iHeart Radio Station.
Pat and Aaron Show, 7:03 here on a Tuesday morning. Can the Bucs take the next step from playoff team, division winner, to true Super Bowl contender with Todd Bowles? That's the question. 888-546-4620. And could the Buccaneers really fire Todd Bowles after the run he's had as the head coach of this team, his third NFC South division win and playoff appearance in 3 tries?
We should note, by the way, if you're watching live on YouTube or X or Facebook, some idiot accidentally stopped the live stream. And by some idiot, I mean me. So we started it again. So if you want to go back and watch us live on the interwebs, we are live on the internet. We just had to start the stream over again because I'm stupid and there's a button next to another button and I hit the wrong button. I think it's the wrong button to fire Todd Bowles, Aaron Jacobson. I don't think you can. To your question about if you can or not, I think it's – I just don't think after a guy's won a division 3 years in a row – I said yesterday, Aaron, and I think that this is – I think it's correct. There's a lot of teams that had high expectations this year, at least a handful of teams that had high expectations this year. And because of injury, they sucked. They weren't good at all. Look at the San Francisco 49ers, for instance. A lot of that was because of injury, but they ended up with a worse record. They weren't in the playoffs. They didn't win their division. I think it's very easy to look at this season and say you're disappointed, but at the same time, if you look at having the second youngest team in football decimated by injury and you still win 10 games and win the division, it's hard for me to look at that as the landscape of what your football team was and go, yeah, you should fire that head coach.
888-546-4620. He's 27-24 as head coach of the Buccaneers, just above 500. You're in a bad division, but you're winning the division. You are a guy that helped with the transition from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield and did nothing but win division titles. So I think you have to give him some credit there. If all the wins are against bad football teams and that's the only reason because you're in a bad division, you beat some of the best teams in football this season. Again, with the second youngest team in football. I think there are some people that think Todd Bowles, regardless of the Liam Cohen cloud, are done with Todd Bowles. There are some Bucs fans that are just done with Todd Bowles. I'm not one of them. I'm not that guy.
They're spoiled.
The only reason why I would move on if I'm Jason Light in this Buccaneers organization, the only reason I would move on from Todd Bowles is the fear of losing Liam Cohen. Just because I see what's happening in this league and I see where this league is going. We all see it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to see this league is built on offense, and young coaches are thriving in this league. And if you can lock them in, you can have them for years to come. Even though we heard retirement rumors from Sean McVay at the age of 27, the guy's won a Super Bowl, and look what he's done with that Rams organization. Look what he did last night, right, as the head coach of that team, once again winning another playoff game. So head coaches matter, the future matters, and losing future stars, that matters. So if it wasn't for the Liam Cohen cloud, Pat, it's a no-brainer. Todd Bowles is coming back at this team. He deserves it. But the Liam Cohen element is something.
Yeah, but you just don't know. You don't know how it works out if Liam Cohen takes over and then maybe he rebuilds the staff a little bit and you've got a different team next year and then maybe you're almost starting over a little bit. And I just think when you're this close, and I think the Bucs are this close, I think to start over at head coach is a very risky move, even with a guy like Liam Cohen, who I love. But I also love Dirk Cutter, and I thought he was going to be the guy. And he was a lot more experienced than Liam Cohen is, and it was too much for Dirk Cutter. And I'm not saying it will be too much for Liam Cohen. He might be perfect, but he might not be too. And I think when you're as close as this team is, it's a dangerous proposition to just say, hey, let's start over a head coach and hope it works out as well as it has been working out. I think we all agreed that if this team had just an adequate defense, better pieces on defense, they're a much better team, and they won 10 games this season. I don't know why you wouldn't rebuild the defense and continue with the continuity that you have, even if it means Liam Cohen, as opposed to just blowing up and starting over again, because you never know how that's going to work out.
You're right. And listen, in a perfect world, Liam Cohen would be offensive coordinator, Todd Bowles would be defensive coordinator, and you bring somebody in, a veteran head coach, to take over the reins, because I love Todd Bowles as a defensive coordinator. If he has the right pieces and guys stay healthy, we know that he can run elite defenses in this league. But as far as the head coach is concerned, the jury is still out as far as can he take it to all the way. Can he take us to the promised land? And it's a conversation I know Jason Light's having as well. And it's got to be a tough conversation. But when you look at some of the things that went wrong this year, and you can potentially pin on Todd Bowles, we can look back to the last game and some of the decisions you can pin on Todd Bowles. Even though it didn't hurt them, letting all that time run off the clock at the end of the half, like, that's a time management issue. That, to me, is on the head coach. You have to ask yourself the question, if Liam Cohen...
But do you know if Liam Cohen does that better?
You have to ask yourself the question, if Liam Cohen is in that situation, does he do it better?
Yeah.
And I can't answer that.
Yeah, and nobody can. And again, we've seen it be too much for a lot of guys, especially young guys. And I know a couple of young guys have worked out, but at the same time, a lot of young guys haven't too. Let's go to the phones, 888-546-4620 if you want to jump aboard. Sajida is in Brandon. Sajida, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you guys?
We are well. How are you?
Good. All right. So I'm going to talk about the two things you just mentioned. So Buccaneers, I feel like, is definitely a Super Bowl contender for next year. Being them back-to-back in playoffs with Todd Bowles and Liam Cohen, they're doing an excellent job. I think we just need to draft some defensive players, especially the pass rusher and the cornerbacks.
Agreed.
And then I think offensively, if we can get Godwin back, Mike Evans and McMillan, we are loaded.
Yeah, it's a great point.
And I think as far as Todd Bowles, I don't think we should fire him. I think that guy brings us to the ceiling, and I think we have a lot to work with the team, and we should give him another year or two. It's just a matter of time, and I think we should be in the Super Bowl.
Hey, thank you for the call, and a good one at that.
Thank you, Sajida.
Yeah, I think one or two, and then you really know. If he can't get it done after one or two, and it doesn't get any better, then we're looking at a team that is just subpar.
I think the expectations change completely next year, because I think, like we just talked about, and Sajida said it herself, they're a couple of pieces away from being, in my opinion, true Super Bowl contenders. So the pressure is on Jason Light this offseason to make sure you get those pieces to put this team over the top. And then the pressure's on Todd Bowles. I think next year is a make or break year. I think, in my opinion, he did enough, maybe even more than enough this year to secure his spot for at least another season.
And I like her point about Chris Godwin and Jalen McMillan. And if there's one thing, there was really no positive to Chris Godwin going down, but if there's one thing, a silver lining you could take away from it, it allowed Jalen McMillan to really emerge and get comfortable and confident in this league. And I think if you can bring Chris Godwin back next year, now you've got Jalen McMillan coming into the year with a lot of confidence. Now you got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Jalen McMillan.
On the Bartow Ford DAE text line, put this lady on the radio. She knows what the hell she's talking about. I love her. We just did put her on the radio. Matt, Carlos, Britt, not necessarily in that order. Brick, Omar, we see all of you. We'll put you all on the radio coming up very soon.
Yeah, that coming up as well. Todd Bowles has done enough to earn at least another year with the Buccaneers, or are you scared that the Buccaneers are going to lose Liam Cohen? And that's the reason why you would want to elevate Liam Cohen to head coach. And
don't be scared.
Unfortunately, that would mean the end for Todd Bowles. Let's go, and if you want to call in, 888-546-4620. Let's go to Carlos. Good morning, Carlos.
Hey, guys. Good morning. How you doing?
Good,
Doing well.
Carlos.
Hey, listen, I called last year for Ron Rivera, but it didn't go through. Now, I'm calling this year to bring, what's his coach name? Saleh, that got fired for the Jets?
Robert Saleh.
He needs to bring, he needs to come up here
Why?
and help out Todd Bowles.
The defense?
Because the game is too, because the game is too big for Todd Bowles at the moment. We saw it again. Management the game with timeouts this past game.
Let me stop you there for a
It's
second. Let me
happening
stop you there for
over and
hold on.
over.
Let me stop you there for a second because I want to have this conversation with you. What about Robert Saleh and what he did with the Jets tells you he's going to do a better job than Todd Bowles?
Okay, I'll tell you the answer. The reason why is because we got a lot of nice guys at defense side. Number one. Number two, we need to bring the game up, bringing attitude. Okay, we had no attitude in the game. We got a lot of nice players at this team, and we need to bring some attitude to the game.
So you think
because
he's
otherwise
just
we're
enough
not-
of a jerk?
Well, you got to give him another chance.
I got to
You know,
remind
the
you
Todd
here,
Bowles-
the Jets defense is one of the younger and better defenses. They have a lot of good pieces there, and they still didn't do anything with Robert Saleh.
Because he was a head coach.
So you want to bring him in
That's
as
why.
coordinator is what you're saying.
Right.
And you want
right,
to keep Todd Bowles
right.
here.
Right. Because
Okay.
the game is too big for him. He needs help.
Carlos,
He needs help.
are you guys like in-laws, second cousins? How do you know Robert Saleh? I'm just curious.
Nothing. I just remember when he was assistant coach at the 49ers.
He's on
I'm
to
just
something, man.
saying.
I'm
You know,
telling you, he was a badass defensive coordinator. He really was. I like.
So
what
is
Carlos
Todd Bowles.
putting down.
Todd Bowles isn't giving up. And Carlos, thank you for the phone call. We do have a lot of people on hold, but he's not giving up the reins. He's said to himself,
He's not,
if,
but
listen,
it's
here's
a
the
good
deal.
idea.
If you don't want the guy to be the play caller, you probably need to fire him. Because he's not going to give up play calling defensively. And frankly, I don't think he necessarily needs to. I hate some of the zone crap that he does when he doesn't trust his secondary. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, what I know is when he has the horses, he'll put together a defense that'll win you a Super Bowl. You know how I know that? Because he did it here. He did it here.
Let's go to Matt. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning. Hope you guys are doing great today. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I don't think you can really fire Todd Bowles just based on the history of the organization. We are a losing organization, and like you guys said, we made the playoffs a few years in a row. However, with that being said, I don't really think that Todd Bowles would be able to get us to an NFC championship game by himself. I think that last year, the divisional round is probably about the peak that you'll see from him. Kind of like Carlos said before me, I think he probably does need help. I think it's too big of a task for him to continue doing this on his own. But, there's a lot of other factors like the injuries. We're one of the younger teams, so we're a little more inexperienced
Matt,
than we had been in the past.
Matt, can I ask you exactly what you mean? Because the guy's got a whole coaching staff, so he's not necessarily doing anything on his own. So what are we suggesting? That he needs an assistant head coach? That he needs to give up the defensive coordinator position? Because, again, we just said that's not going to happen. I'll turn your radio down or whatever that was, maybe. But, I'm not sure. What do you mean? What do we need to do because he, quote-unquote, can't do it on his own?
I would say probably get him a defensive coordinator. I'm not really a fan of the head coaches doing a head coach and a coordinator job. I'm a
That's
Gators fan, and Billy Napier's been doing the same thing for the Gators. And I feel like you miss a lot of things when you try to put too much on your plate.
And that's what you're absolutely right. And thank you for the call. That's why you got guys like Larry Foote. You've got guys within this defense that are helping out. That Todd Bowles is, of course, running things, but he's got underlings that are running things that are helping coordinate as well. So that you're describing this help, and what I think a lot of people either don't realize or are saying it without realizing it is that you just need different guys under Todd Bowles to help out with that defense.
Want me to make a brilliant point?
Yeah, please. I love when you make brilliant points.
I'm going to make a brilliant point right now. It's not actually mine, though. I'm just going to read it off the Bartow 4DA text line. Think about it. If the Bucs were to fire Todd Bowles, who has done nothing but win division titles, what precedent does that set? What coach in their right mind would find the job in Tampa attractive if they know that they can win the division continually and still get fired? I mean, I think it's a great point. What else are you supposed to do? Like, I know you want to win a Super Bowl. Yeah, I know. But listen, who the hell thought this team was equipped to win a Super Bowl coming into the season? None of us. I sure as hell didn't. I've been saying all year, I think they're a year away. And you know what they did? They proved that. They proved that they're probably a year away. You set him up with a Super Bowl roster. And again, tell me someone who thought they had a Super Bowl roster this year. You set him up with a Super Bowl roster and he fails, and then we can have this conversation. But he hasn't done that, in my opinion.
I look at, and a lot of people are comparing the situation with Bowles to Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, a guy who wins, is a 500 record or above every year, makes the playoffs, doesn't win playoff games. First of all, Mike Tomlin's been doing it for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Second of all, if I'm the Steelers, why do I think it's a horrible idea to get rid of Tomlin? Who else are you going to replace him with? Who else comes in? That is not the same question we're asking with the Buccaneers. It is not who else do you replace him with. It's we know who the guy is. If you replace him, it's with Liam Cohen. And if you did anything else, that would be absurd.
Yeah.
If you fired him and then you didn't hire Liam Cohen as head coach, that would be the most absurd move you could ever make.
I still think it's absurd. I still think you can't do it. And I agree with somebody else who texted in that said, even if Liam Cohen leaves, we'll probably be fine. Todd Bowles has proven now 2 times in a row he can find and hire a good offensive coordinator. Now, Canal's certainly not as good, but I think the pieces are in place here. And by the way, it becomes immediately the most attractive offensive coordinator job in football if Liam Cohen leaves. It's a risk you have to take, in my opinion, because I don't think it would be fair to fire Todd Bowles.
Let's go to Omar on the line. Good morning, Omar. Good morning, Rick.
No, we got Omar.
Omar.
Good morning, guys. Hope you're doing good. Guys, the thing about us is, the way I see it, I think we're so used to mediocrity. Remember, from 2008 to 2020, we didn't make the playoffs. So I'm really blessed and happy that we made the playoffs for three straight years on the Bulls.
5.
But guys, we have to think about something. We have arguably 3 players that are all pro. Tristan Wirfs, Vita Vea, and I know Winfield had a bad year, but last year, all pro level. Mike Evans, we have talent on this team. We can't be wasting it. This is a very short period of window where we have these talented players on one team.
Omar, you can name 3 great players on any team in football. The reality is this team was not set up to win it all this year. It wasn't.
You can't name 3 all pros on one team.
Well, first of all,
we have
you know what?
3 at the best of their position.
Dude, those 3 players are all great. Tristan Wirfs is the only all-pro this year. He's the only one.
I'm with you, but they are arguably the best at their position. Can you name a better D tackle than Vita Vea?
Yeah, I think you can make some arguments for some guys like Sexy Dexy and Dexter Lawrence in the year he was having in New York.
Come on, Sexy Dexy over Vita Vea.
Dude, I love Vita Vea. Dexter Lawrence is every bit the player that he is. He is.
Antoine, can you name me 2 other safeties better than Antoine Winfield?
No, listen, I think Antoine Winfield Jr. is the best safety in football.
Not this year.
This guy was injured all season.
I'm just saying.
We have some talented players on this team that were overlooked. I was like you guys. I was thinking, man, Todd Bowles making the playoffs. But this year, he blew Chris Godwin for us. That game was over. He had no business trying to win that game.
That's fair.
It was over.
That's totally fair.
And the time management, I can name you 5 instances. Time management at the end of the first half, we have no idea what we're doing. We go down, try to score, and his defense repeatedly.
Yeah, listen, Omar.
Go down and get a field goal.
Omar, you're not wrong. The time management at times has been shaky, and I've made the point before. There was years and years and years where the same conversation has been had about, first of all, so many head coaches. Hold on, Omar, I'm going to let you finish. Let me finish, for crying out loud. We've seen it from a lot of head coaches. And by the way, the guy who most people think right now is probably the best coach in all of football, Andy Reid, for years in Philadelphia. The issue with Andy Reid was clock management. So it's an issue for a lot of guys, dude. And I don't think it's something you fire a guy for.
Here's another point, that we have so much talent. And then we never, guys, up until this year, his longest winning streak was 2 games. And even this year, at the end, we won a game against Carolina we had no business winning. We had no business winning that game. His winning streak still would have been up to 3 games. I'm saying I appreciate everything Todd Bowles did. because we went from 12 straight years with not making the playoffs. But, guys, this was a very talented roster. We overlooked that. A winning streak for 2 games. We went from winning 13 games with Brady last year.
You're the second person I've had say this to us, and I don't know why. They won 4 games in a row this season.
This year, I'm telling you, 4 games in a row. In that
just
winning
said 2.
streak, I'm telling you. No, up until this year. Before this year, the longest winning streak on the Bulls was 2. And in this 4-game winning streak, we won a game in Carolina we had no business winning. We had no business winning that game.
They won. Omar, they were 4-6. Omar, they were 4-6 last year, and thank you for the phone call. They were 4-6 last year and made the playoffs, just like this year. So my math tells me, without even looking, they had to have won more than 2 games in a row last season. Maybe I'm wrong, but they did. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Love the passion, though, Omar.
yeah, that's true.
I do love the passion. Listen, next year, someone who has a lot of passion. I'll tell you who we're talking about in just a few minutes. Next year, the Bucks' 50th anniversary. They're bringing back somebody as classic as ever. He's a Buccaneer forever. He's not going anywhere. And we'll tell you what we're talking about, who we're talking about next on the Pat and Aaron Show.
But when it comes to passion, you're going to be passionate about driving if you're driving the right vehicle. Aaron learned a little over a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, when he got his Mazda 3. I've been driving my Mazda 3 now for a couple of years, and I'm telling you, you are going to love any of the line of Mazdas that you drive, and especially you're going to love the car buying experience at Mazda of Clearwater, because it will be the best car buying experience of your life. And right now, with interest rates on the way down, select models, and many of them are at 0% financing right now. You can check them out online at MazdaofClearwater.com, but I always suggest go in person, find out why it'll be the best car buying experience of your life, right on US 19, just south of Roosevelt and East.
we got somebody coming back for the 50th anniversary season for the Bucks, and it's going to be really special. We'll tell you about that in just a second, but we got a ton of callers who are getting in on the conversation of Todd Bowles.
You don't think we should sneak that in before the callers? Because we usually get into it with the callers.
Okay, you know what? Not a bad idea. Rick, Daryl, Ryan, Tom, hang in there. 888-546-4620 if you want to join the program. Gene Deckerhoff is going to return for the 2025 season, which, of course, will be the Bucks' 50th anniversary season. So he is somebody who's just part of the fabric of this organization. And we just have to enjoy Gene on the radio while we have Gene Deckerhoff on the radio, because we don't know how much longer we're going to have him on the radio.
Guy's amazing. I typically, when I mention that I'm going to be doing the post-game show from the stadium, I will usually mention that I'm doing it from the Gene Deckerhoff radio booth. There's a reason why they name a booth after you. That stays forever. It'll be the Gene Deckerhoff radio booth forever. The guy's just a legend, and for me, it's an honor just to be part of a broadcast crew along with him for Bucks game days, for sure.
His voice is so iconic, and it's so... like, he could just roll out of bed and call a football game.
Yeah.
That's just how talented and how long he's been doing this, and that voice has not changed. It's only gotten stronger, so... to have Gene Deckerhoff back next year, it's going to be great. I love the Jack Harris stories of Gene Deckerhoff, because I get a glimpse behind the curtain of like Gene back in the 70s and 80s.
So I get, now that I do pregame and postgame, I get to the stadium like right before the game, so I don't have time for this. But back when I was just covering the team and games for whatever reason, not doing pregame, I would always be there early enough to like sit down and grab a bite with people. And anytime I saw a table with Gene Deckerhoff at it, and an open seat, I was sitting down just to sit down and listen to Gene talk about whatever he was talking about, because it was usually hilarious and very interesting.
Yeah, because Jack knew him well before he was the Bucks broad. He did this for the Bucks. Jack, I believe, helped him get the gig.
Probably.
Yeah.
What hasn't Jack had a hand in?
Right. Let's get to the phone lines. 888-546-4620. Let's go to Rick. What's up, Rick?
Hey guys, I couldn't agree more with both of you guys about Gene Deckerhoff, man. That's like the voice of my childhood. Listening to Bucks games, even when we had like blackouts back in like 2010, we had to literally just listen to the games instead of watching them on Fox because they were blacked out.
Yeah.
About Todd Bowles being head coach, I'd give him another year. I agree with the previous caller you guys had. When she was talking about bringing back a couple of key players and stuff like that, and like you can trade a couple of players too to make cap space too. You know, you got Jamel Dean you can trade. Rashad White, since Sean Tucker has emerged, and Bucky Irving are probably going to be running back 1 or running back 2 next year. You can make cap space with that and get some draft picks. So,
Rashad White's on a rookie deal. It's not like you're going to save a bunch of money getting rid of Rashad White. I think he's part of
pieces.
I think he's part of this. You're not going to get a lot for a running back. I mean, I would prefer and I would expect to be a part of this team again.
Well, I understand he's on a rookie contract, but you strike when the iron's hot, you know? Like, you can get maybe a third-round pick like you got for Carlton Davis last year.
I don't think you get a third-round pick for Rashad White.
You got a third-round pick for Carlton Davis?
The thing is...
That's a premier position. That's a premier... Rick, you're talking about a starter at a premier position.
And that's the key, I think, there that Patrick said. Well, hold on, no. And regardless, he's not a starter anymore. Like, if you're a team that watched how this season went along, a rookie took his job. A rookie. So you're going to trade third round. You can get that rookie. You can get Bucky Irving. You can get something like that in the third round.
There's a guy, he's a guy they really trust in pass protection and is, I think, key on third down. Yeah. There's no reason to move on from him.
Sure, that's true.
I mean, you think about it, Bucky. You got Bucky in the fourth round. I mean, you're talking about a third round pick. Yeah. You can get that talent, running back, in the fourth round in the draft.
Yeah, got a point. Yeah, especially too, like with Pacheco too, with the Chiefs, they got him in the seventh round. But I would give Bowles one more year, but I feel like there's just a glass ceiling with him because again too, like I feel like he plays scared sometimes. You know, like look at the game on Sunday. You know, how many times did the Commanders go for on fourth down? You know, that fourth down, it was when we got the penalty on the kick, the first kick of the first drive, it would have been 4th and 2. You know, set the tone for your team. It's like, you know, we're going to go for it. I believe in you guys. This is playoff football. We need to get touchdowns instead of field goals. And I understand it's situational football, but again, too, look at the game of Kansas City. You know, you could win 4-2. You know, I understand. You know, it's regular season, but you're in Kansas City. What do you have to lose? You know, you could have went for 2 and you could have won that game. So I just feel like Todd Bowles plays very scared sometimes. And again, you know, he's a good head coach. I like him, but again, to a certain point, you know, you gotta, you know, show your team, hey, you know, I'm the leader of the team. I believe in you guys. Let's do this. Let's go for it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all.
Hey, thanks for the call. Really appreciate it. Yeah, with Rachaad White, like, I agree that you have, first of all, they're all on their rookie contracts, which is amazing. You have something in Sean Tucker. We don't know exactly what. They didn't utilize him enough this year. We know what we have in Bucky Irving.
He's not on a rookie contract because he wasn't a draft pick.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. But they're all so young.
Yeah. But even if you can get something for him, quote unquote, whatever that might be, I don't understand the point of moving on from Rachaad White. He's, to me, a perfect complement to Bucky Irving.
It's why, well, the main reason, too, I wouldn't. You're right. He is a perfect complement. Bucky's taken over as a starter. There's no arguments there and no concern there. And it is, and we've watched it. And it doesn't mean Bucky can't get better in pass pro, but Rachaad White's just bigger. I mean, to watch Bucky, I felt
Bucky
so bad.
Bucky needs a breather sometimes anyways, even if he gets better.
When you see... when you see Bobby Wagner going right up the gut and Bucky's like, oh, my God, I got to hit this guy.
He picked up the blitz.
He did.
He didn't do a great job, but he picked up the blitz.
You're like, oh, my gosh. So those are moments where you realize the value of a guy like Rachaad White. Yeah. 888-546-4620. Are we on to Daryl?
We are on to Daryl.
Daryl, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, both of you guys. First, I'd like to say congratulations to the Buccaneers for a wonderful year. One of you said that, and I feel this way, this was not a team built to go to the Super Bowl. I firmly believe that. I think that we were a year away.
Yep.
I think they overachieved. How do you explain beating the Chargers the way that they did? They really exposed the Chargers.
Beat the Lions, beat the Eagles.
Yep. I wouldn't even say necessarily, Daryl, that they overachieved either. I think they were about where they should have been. I think they're a talented roster. Right. I think they've got a lot of great pieces. They had a ton of injuries. Maybe with the injuries, you could say they overachieved because, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of teams whose season were just decimated by injuries, and the Bucs, despite having the injuries, the season was not.
Daryl, in golf, what's average? Right? When you play a hole, what do you want to get? What are you striving to get? You're getting a par.
First, you want to try to.
Well, you'd like to get a birdie,
division.
but this is the Bucs are what they've been doing. It's not great. It's not bad. It's par for the course, is what it is.
Right, and they did that. For the third time, we won the division, and granted, our division was not great, and we were playing nip and tuck with Atlanta,
it was buck and tuck.
We needed some help. Thank you, Commanders, for doing that. But we were in a position where we were in control of our own destiny. Yes, I would keep Todd Bowles again for another year. Leave the offense alone. We need to get parts on this defense. We just need to maybe get 1 or 2 players. We need another pass rusher. And we need somebody at corner. We need people at the defensive positions. But next year, I will be looking for that to be our year. By the way, we lost this game because of mistakes that you cannot do. Baker Mayfield with the 2 fumbles. And then our OC doing calling that fancy play. You didn't have to do that. You had got momentum back with Evans getting that first down. I mean, but fumbling the ball, it happens in football. They didn't overwhelm us and run all through us. We gave the game away because of mistakes, and that happens in football. Hey, guys, have a good morning.
Thank you, Daryl. I want Daryl. Daryl should take up a job like doing audiobooks, read like bedtime stories to kids.
So smooth.
I want Daryl to be my kid's Uncle Daryl if I had kids.
That's weird. On the text line, wish we would have played the damn Vikings, stupid Seahawks. I mean, come on. You say that now. You think that the Buccaneers were going to get to Sam Darnold 9 times yesterday? No. Not the way that pass rush has looked this year. No way, no how. All right, on the other side, let's get weird. Time for Situation Men next. But before that, If you're dealing with any injury, you know who to call. We've been telling you about them all year long. Our doctors join us on Thursday, and I'm talking about Florida Orthopedic Institute in partnership with Tampa General Hospital. And if you are dealing with that nagging injury, they have the highly skilled, board-certified physicians and surgeons at Florida Orthopedic Institute that are going to get you right.
That's right. And they do more surgeries every year than anybody around. So you know you're going to get the best results. You know you're going to get expedited results when it comes to healing. You're going to get right, and you're going to get right fast because of their world-class orthopedic surgeons. So making that appointment today with their world-class orthopedic surgeons or anybody at Florida Orthopedic Institute, so easy to do. Just call 800-FL-ORTHO or go to floridaortho.com.
No, it's a plane. No.
Who are you supposed to be?
It's your friendly neighborhood situation man.
That's right. Time for Situation Men. Casey Warner, the keeper of the situations. What do we have today, my friend?
First things first, Deion Sanders being rumored to maybe make the leap to NFL, maybe not. So if you were Deion Sanders, which would be more appealing to you? The Titans or Raiders? I say those two teams because they're most in need of a quarterback and they're in the top 6 picks and they need a coach. With Shedeur Sanders or taking over the Cowboys?
I mean, for me, the appealing thing is watching you be with your son, with Shedeur. But I think for Deion, what would be more appealing would be the Cowboys. We're talking about Jerry Jones. We're talking about Jerry World. We're talking about Dallas. We're talking about, at one time, America's team.
Vegas is fun.
Deion with Dallas and the relationship with Jerry, I think Deion would be, and I think Deion knows the loyalty of a Jerry Jones and trusts that. And I think that would be the more appealing situation for him because of comfort.
If I'm Deion Sanders, and I'll talk as Deion Sanders because I'm totally different than Deion Sanders. But if I'm Deion Sanders, Mr. T, if I'm Deion Sanders, the Vegas Raiders, I think there's some intrigue there because just being in Vegas, being who I am, I know how I can build my brand in Vegas.
Who are your
and
pieces?
Coaching my kid, Brock Bowers, he'd be thrown to him for starters. Yeah. But just, for instance, being in Vegas and being able to coach my kid in Vegas and all that would entail, I think is very attractive to me if I'm Deion Sanders. If I'm Deion Sanders, I think that Nashville, Tennessee is just too small for Deion Sanders. All right? I'm sure it's nice over there.
It has his name all over Nashville.
Listen, I know I look good in a cowboy hat, but it's too small for Deion Sanders. And yeah, the Dallas Cowboys, if I can't go coach my kid in Vegas, very attractive to me, Deion Sanders.
I don't think that the father-son coach relationship that worked in college translates to the NFL.
I don't think it does either, but I'm Deion Sanders, and I can do whatever the hell I want. By the way, I feel like as we're doing this, I feel like we love to steal bits. I feel like we should steal the old bit from Pardon the Interruption. Pardon the Interruption was the one with Wilbon and Kornheiser, right?
Yeah.
We should steal that bit where they hold the faces in front of themselves and talk as that person.
Hate that bit.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, it was a little corny.
I thought it was a great bit.
Do you
With
think
Tony Kornheiser? Haha.
Do you think Shedeur wants Deion to be his father or to be?
I do. I think he's very happy with Deion being his dad. What the hell's wrong with you?
Do you think he wants him to be his head coach? Do you think he wants to be his father?
Oh, of course. I think any son who's come up with their dad as a coach wants it to.
I don't know.
At the NFL level, no, I don't know that I do.
I don't know.
I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I think you want to do it on your own.
But I'm Deion Sanders, and I do whatever I want.
Only time will tell. All right, time to take a little jump into Casey's life here. When there's an elephant in the room in a situation.
Oh, now I got to know what the elephant is.
What do you do to break the awkward tension?
Aaron will tell you he knows this. I'm a pretty forward guy. If things aren't going too hot between us, like we're going to have the conversation, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. Like there's a time to be a man, and then just speak your voice. And these are the times. There's no room for elephants in the room or being a pea. Like, let's talk like men.
It depends on the elephant. It really does. It depends on what we're talking about here. Katie Bacino, I used to work with her down the hall at WFLA.
What was the elephant?
Well, no, it wasn't an elephant, but whenever she pointed out to me, whenever something got uncomfortable, whenever there was tension or people were getting into it and I was around, and I didn't realize it until she pointed it out to me, I would break out a golf swing, an air golf swing.
Oh, really?
Without a club in my hand, I would just start practicing my golf swing. And she's like, anytime there's something like some conflict regarding like involving other people and you're there, you just start breaking out a golf swing.
That is hilarious.
And I've realized she's absolutely right. For some reason, that broke the tension for me.
In that studio, I'm not calling an uncomfortable situation an elephant in the room. I'm calling it a lizard in the window because that's what makes me think of discomfort in that studio. Anybody who doesn't know, our old studio over on Gandy, they had these big, thick window sills, and lizards, those little tiny lizards, they'd get in the window, and there'd be no way to get out, and they'd die in there. And you just see these little lizard skeletons in the window.
I felt bad for them. You knew once they got there, it was a death trap.
I hated it so much. I wanted so badly to get them out.
Free the lizards.
Yeah, so the elephant last night was just with me and my roommate, and I've told you, I think you all have met him before.
He's crazy.
He loves to talk, man. Like,
crazy.
and he just doesn't know when to stop sometimes. And last night was very important. It was the playoffs, man. And I'm watching the game, and he snapped in front of the TV when I'm watching the game, like trying to get my attention. And I just immediately darted over my eyes, and I said, "Look, this is what I'm focusing on tonight. This is the game. I'm sorry. This is where my focus is."
You shouldn't even have to apologize.
No, I didn't. I just told him straight up. And
honestly,
he just stared at me and said, "Yeah, okay," and then walked off. And then he comes back out of his room like 5 minutes later and is like, "So what are you doing when our lease is up?" Like, that's the first thing he says to me.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, what?
Well, listen, I'm going to be honest with you, Casey. What I was about to say is you probably shouldn't have a roommate who doesn't understand the importance of playoff football.
It's becoming apparently or increasingly apparent, I should say.
Are you and Jesus about to break up?
No, man, we'll always be homies, but it's just like I am not the kind of person who wants to be dealing with a roommate years on end. And this is our second year that we've been roommates. And it's just time. You know?
I know.
So.
It's funny. I had a roommate until I was 26, 27.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was hustling in radio. And then when I finally could get my own place, I couldn't imagine. I was thinking about this the other day. I couldn't imagine living with anybody.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem. I can't even imagine living with a spouse.
Dude, believe it or not, I've never lived alone.
That's crazy.
I've never actually lived alone.
Once you get a taste of it, I don't like the thought of, do I want to get married one day? Absolutely. But the thought of having to share space with anyone is crazy to me.
It's tough, but yeah, it's just time, and I'm not really the roommate type, so I'll admit it. It's me too.
I'll admit it. You were watching football. It's him. He snapped in your face. You didn't get it.
It's tough. All right,
I
do want to throw this one in real quick before we hit the break. What's your F it? I'm not cooking. I'm grabbing this frozen meal, and I'm not feeling guilty about it.
I don't feel guilty about any meal I eat.
Okay, so what is it? Just what's the go-to? Tell you what I did.
I'll tell you what. I'll be honest with you. For me, anyways, Aaron. I don't know how you feel. There isn't a frozen meal in the go-to circle. I almost never eat frozen meals. If I'm gonna just say F it, I'm gonna say F it and DoorDash.
I haven't had a frozen meal since college.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily a meal what I got last night, but I made it into a meal. I got those frozen chicken taquitos.
Ooh.
And I got a big jar of hot queso, and I just went to town.
You know what they have? Great. You know what? I'll dive into this at Trader Joe's. Pat, you might like this. They have frozen Indian food.
Okay.
And it's really easy to make. That would be my go-to.
I think I've had some of it, and it's fine.
It's fine. It's not. Yeah, it's obviously not. You go to an Indian restaurant, you're getting the best of the best. All right. Any more in Situation Man? Or are we ending on that?
Let's end with this one. Actually, who is more of a priority this offseason for the Bucs, Liam Cohen or Chris Godwin?
I like this.
This is a tough one.
This is a really tough one for me. It's a really tough one. Priority. We're talking priority. Priority.
If you can, I think the question should be if you can only have one back, who is it?
It's Liam Cohen. It's because it's so tough. I trust the ability of Mike and Jalen McMillan and other guys that weren't able to emerge this year, and you could go out and get other guys. I would never want to part ways with Chris Godwin, but I truly believe in the importance of continuity for Baker Mayfield and this offense and this organization. And your offense was already a top 5 offense. Imagine where they could take it with some continuity and some additions, and they really don't need many additions. It's Liam Cohen.
I love Liam Cohen, but I'd go Chris Godwin. I want Chris Godwin back here. I think he should be a franchise guy. I think he should be here forever like Mike, and I think you can figure it out.
I never thought, Pat, I never thought I would say that a coach is more important than a premier player, but that's how good this offense and how good of a job Liam Cohen did. And if you think it was just the pieces, I mean, the offensive line was much improved, but look at what they did from Dave Canales to Liam Cohen. It's night and day.
Listen, I believe that, but I also think that job is so attractive. You're going to be able to get another very good coach. And to me, the pieces are in place. And you know what Tom Moore says? The players, not the plays.
Well, how close, we'll see what you have to say. How close are the Bucs to being Super Bowl contenders, and what should that mean for Todd Bowles, the guy we're talking about? We'll answer the phone calls on the other side. But before we do that, make sure you are getting the best of the best. And I'm talking about Reese Windows and Doors. Get ready ahead of hurricane season. Don't wait, because next thing you know, it's going to be upon us. So get the best, the highest quality impact windows in Florida for over 50 years. Reese Windows and Doors. Most windows installed in just 6 to 8 weeks. Financing options available, including 0%
iHeart Radio Station.
Hour number 3 of the Pat Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Talking a lot of Bucs football today, even though the Buccaneers season is over. Ryan in Tampa has been waiting to talk about Todd Bowles for quite a while now. Ryan, thank you for your patience. We had a lot of stuff going on. Good to talk to you this morning.
How you guys doing?
We are well. How are you, man?
Good. So you guys know, I mean, we talk often, and I talk with Aaron and things like that, and you guys know I am no Todd Bowles apologist. I definitely think Todd Bowles has some flaws. However, as a head coach myself, and not one at his kind of level, but there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about or not prepared for. And so I would not want to fire somebody who has been successful to bring in a person who has never done it before. So, by firing Todd Bowles and bringing in Liam Cohen.
It's risky.
However, I do think that with a couple tweaks, Todd Bowles can be a very successful coach. He needs to hire a person that is analytical driven and a time management person to understand when and when not to go for it, to understand when to kick a field goal and when not to understand when to call timeouts, when not to. And if he had that person with him by his side throughout the whole game, I think that can make a difference. I'm not going to blame him for the defense. There's a lot of injuries. You'll have Antoine Winfield most of the year. You had some other injuries at cornerback where you had your special teams guys playing at corner. I think this team was definitely 1 year away. And if you are able to shore up the defense with the way Todd Bowles is able to coach defensive players, you're able to retain Liam Cohen, I think they have a real chance next year at a Super Bowl.
Hey, thank you for the call. The difference between a Todd Bowles and a Bruce Arians-led team, right? Let's look at the end where Bruce wins a division to the next year where Todd wins a division. 13-4, the last year Bruce Arians. You dominated the division. And you would have won you would have been the leader in every division that year. The last 3 years, I don't know how it is shaken up in the West this year. You had the same record as the Rams. I don't know. I forget the tiebreaker on how that would have worked, but I'd have to look into it. But you're not winning any division in the NFC if you're not in the NFC South.
I think that's such a simplistic way of looking at it, though.
Well, I'm
man.
a simple guy.
Because when you break down what happened with the roster, what happened with Ryan Jensen, having to rebuild that offensive line, the youth, starting over at quarterback. If anything, I think that you can point to a lot of the things that have happened in the way they've had to reshape the roster over the last couple of years and say that the consistency they've had, especially this year with the injuries, I think you can give credit more so than shame, in my opinion.
I don't want to shame Todd Bowles. I just haven't seen the excellence yet. And I'm looking, and I know Bucs fans are looking for the same thing because
have you seen a roster under Todd Bowles that you believe we should have gotten excellence from? Have you seen him with an elite roster?
No. This year on defense, injuries hurt them bad. I don't think they came into the season this year. They have key pieces. When you've got Vita Vea on your team, and you've got Antoine Winfield Jr. on your team. You've got studs on that defense. You got Levante David. I know he's losing a step, but he's still so good.
There's a problem in coverage, though.
There's a problem in coverage. Oh, yeah, he was a problem in coverage, but in general, the team had problems with coverage, and you were going down.
Because they didn't have a linebacker who could cover the middle of the field.
Yep, and corners were going down left and right, and it was a tough year for the defense. But for Todd Bowles, I think he's been okay.
I agree. Listen, I'm not saying he's exceptional.
Yeah,
right?
The question still remains, can he win it all? And when you start to win divisions and you make the playoffs every year, the conversation isn't what it was 10 years ago under Jameis. It wasn't, what can we do to just get to the playoffs? It's, what are we going to do when we make it to the playoffs? It's a very similar conversation we have with Kevin Cash and the Rays. The only difference is Kevin Cash is dealing with a low payroll in a league that doesn't have a salary cap, and the Buccaneers are dealing with the same thing every team is dealing with.
Yeah, I don't think you can compare it to what the Rays are trying to do ever just because of what you just said. But to me, when you're a team in transition, which this team is. We've talked about when you lose a guy like Tom Brady and all those things. We've talked about how teams often fall off so much after situations like winning a Super Bowl and having to reshape the roster. If you're talking about a team in transition, which this team has been, if you're talking about a team coming off of winning and having to reshape this roster, which it has, you would hope that the team shows progression and gets better every year. And I think you can argue that has happened.
Yeah, but who was that because of? Was that because of Todd Bowles, or was that because this offense was humming under Liam Cohen? That's the question.
I mean, yes. Like to give Liam Cohen credit for everything. Like Todd Bowles didn't hire the guy. Come
on. I don't know if you put that on Todd Bowles or Jason Light, both of them. Like
Todd Bowles makes the decision on his coaching staff. I mean,
they work together.
Maybe Jason has some input in it, but Todd Bowles, the coaches hire their coaching staff. Period. And general managers usually don't get in there.
Had input on Liam Cohen.
Okay, yeah. So he's smart enough to listen to his players, and I appreciate that. You got to give a guy credit for the coaches he hires. I think you do. And he's hired 2 guys in a row that one got a head coaching job, and the next might. And I trust him if he has to hire another guy.
What was the best part of the Bucs this year?
The offense.
What was the worst part of the Bucs this year?
Look at the defense.
Who runs the defense?
We just had a whole conversation about why. We know how injured they were. Has Liam Cohen ever coached an offense to a Super Bowl?
Yeah,
because Todd Bowles has. He's coached a defense to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he's coached a defense to a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator.
So we know if he's got the pieces in place that he can get it done.
Or we just know he's a better defensive coordinator than he is a head coach.
Well, listen, that might be the case. But he's done enough as a head coach with a team, as we just talked about, that has dealt with injuries, transition, all the things that have gone on here. He's kept them consistently in winning divisions. And if that's not enough to save your job, I don't know what the hell is. It can't be Super Bowl or you're fired, dude.
Tough.
That can't be it.
It's a tough league. And like I've said, if we didn't have the cloud of Liam Cohen hanging over us if he could leave, listen, if Liam Cohen, if we find out today that Liam's not taking a head coaching gig, he wants to come back as the offensive coordinator, great. I don't want him, Todd Bowles going anywhere. But if we're talking about losing a guy who could be a future great head coach in this league, maybe not. But he's shown a lot of things in 1 year as an offensive coordinator.
1 year.
I don't want to lose that.
Easy for you to say. But what if you just made that decision a couple years ago and it went horribly wrong? Listen, there's no doubt Dirk Cutter was a better candidate when he was hired than Liam Cohen is today. That's a fact. The dude had been a coach for a long time. The offense was successful because of him. It's the whole reason they fired Lovie Smith to keep him. He was a better candidate when he got hired than Liam Cohen is today. He was a more prepared candidate when he was hired than Liam Cohen is today because of his experience. And it went horribly wrong. You have a roster that is built to win, that has shown that they're that close, that we know is a couple pieces away on defense, and you just start over at head coach. If it goes horribly wrong again, you're talking about blowing up this roster and trying to start all over again if you're Jason Light.
It did go horribly wrong with Dirk Cutter. Here's the thing, though. Even if that didn't happen and Lovie Smith remained head coach, do we think it's getting better? No. Why? We know who Lovie was. Right?
That's not the point.
And I think we know who Todd Bowles is. That's
it's
what
not
I think
about
a lot
Lovie
of people.
Smith. Dirk Cutter being ill-prepared for that job is not about Lovie Smith.
No,
that's the mistake. It's not.
It didn't change the organization and put that. I don't think it put them back any further than they would have been if they had Lovie Smith.
They basically had to start all over again.
Well, that was a lot of.
It was
different
a lot
things.
of new. It was a lot of different things.
You know, you had to.
But dude, it could be a lot of different things all over again if you start over at head coach and it goes horribly wrong. It's a massive risk. It's a massive risk. And it's one, if I'm the Glazers, and it's one I just took, and it went horribly wrong, probably not one I'm in a rush to take again.
It starts with your quarterback, and the risk they took with Dirk Cutter was to help save Jameis, and it didn't work, and that's more because of Jameis Winston and who he is. We've seen that everywhere he goes. Baker's a different type of guy, and he's been a different guy under Liam Cohen, so why would you change that? That's my point.
Because you have no choice. That's why. That's the only reason you change
well, you
it.
do
it's
have
not,
a choice. You always have a choice.
Yeah, if you want to just blow everything up and start over again with a new head coach.
Blowing it up. It's not blowing it up.
No, it is.
You're not blowing it up.
No, it is. You're changing the entire power structure. You're probably going to change the coaching staff. It's a totally new team next year if Liam's the head coach. And maybe, just maybe, like we say about Dirk Cutter, he's better off as a coordinator than he is as a head coach. And if that's true, we're effed.
You don't
it's
know.
a massive risk.
No, you don't know because the guy's
don't
been in
know.
the. Hold on, the guy's been in the organization. For you to just assume that he's going to just clean house, knowing
Nobody
what
said
that would
clean house.
You said all new guys, new coaching
You
staff.
build your coaching staff as a head coach.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean he's just going to be firing everybody left and right.
Doesn't
You
mean
add
everyone's going to
pieces
stay
to
for
it.
him either.
Like you under that assumption, everything fell off the wagon, off the wheels when Bruce Arians left.
You know what?
The head
You know what we're
coaching
talking
position.
about? A bunch of question marks instead of continuity. It's never a smart move. It's a risky move. It is a risky move. Hey, it starts at head coach in the NFL. It starts with you guys on this show. JC, Todd, Greg, couple of Gregs. We're getting Greg heavy in the 8:15 segment. We'll do that on the other side. But first of all, speaking about getting heavy, we got heavy on Sunday night when the Buccaneers lost. And sometimes you need to feel a little bit better after a loss. So you might just want to head to El Bandito Yankee Tequila, a couple shots of tequila, maybe a margarita, whatever it is. You want the best tequila, and that's our friends at El Bandito Yankee Tequila. Don't forget to check them out at Lucan's and all the best liquor stores. El Bandito Yankee Tequila, of course, one of the great sponsors of Football Pick'em, which will be back on Friday, even though we're running out of games, folks. All right, more with you on the other side, talking Todd Bowles, talking Buccaneers. It's the Pat and Aaron Show on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Aaron Show, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620, trying to save Todd Bowles' job while Aaron tries to get him run out of town here on the Pat and Aaron Show.
No. I like Todd Bowles. Good guy. Team loves him. Team plays for him. Is he the guy? Don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know. Should he be
That's
back?
fair.
Absolutely. If it means Liam Cohen can come back as the offensive coordinator, yeah, why would you change things? That would be insanity. But
I still think there's a good chance, by the way, that Cohen's back.
so do I. I think if the Jags don't hire him, I think there's a really good opportunity for him to come back here.
He also has to accept the Jags job, and if I was Liam Cohen, I'd be paying a lot of attention to that schmuck Trent Baalke and not want to work with that guy.
It depends on what type of person you are. You could be a type of guy like Dave Canales who said, hey, this is an opportunity to do something I've always wanted to do, and I'm going to jump for it. Or you could be a guy who is Ben Johnson and says, I'm going to wait for the perfect opportunity, and there's no reason for me to leave a great job and a great thing in Detroit when I can wait and put myself in the best situation to take a job I like.
888-546-4620. If you want to jump aboard, you can also text your thoughts to the Bartow Ford DAE text line 82945. Message and data rates may apply. We'll start on the phones with JC in Tampa. Mike, Greg, hold on. We'll get to you as well.
Double Greg.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Even Mike in Clearwater, who's always usually so angry. JC, we'll start with you. Good morning.
Hey, gentlemen, you're doing a great job of covering a tough subject. Former coach that called a little while ago talking about Bowles having somebody beside him that could do clock management, do when to go for it, when to kick a field goal, and such. Great idea. How do you do that? That's the question. Bowles seems to be, guys, a B-. You guys are really hitting some good points. Pat talking about continuity. The roster has too much talent for these results. The defense was beat up. You guys mentioned that. We need to include that. It's not Todd's fault. But I think I'm trying to sift the priorities here. And Todd being a B-, if you will, this is brutal at this level now. We're talking playoffs and further. When you get to that level, I think Sean Payton, for example, got beat up, and I would have thought he would do better. But it's so competitive at this level, you've got to have someone that I think instills discipline in the team as well as let's say X's and O's, and I use a guy.
Well,
like Bill
listen, JC.
Yeah.
I got a couple of things I got to say to you here, real quick. First of all,
okay,
this team did not commit more than we'd like at the end of the season in a couple of games, but for the most part, this team did not commit a lot of penalties for a really young football team. I think you can argue that they're exceptionally disciplined for the most part, and also. I got to tell you, with everything going on in the world today, all over the planet, right? I feel a little uncomfortable when you call and tell Aaron and I that we're doing such a good job talking about a tough topic while we're sitting here talking about football and football coaches.
Tough topics. It is.
You know what? You're right. Kudos to us, man. Kudos to us.
You got a point there.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
No,
we're geniuses.
And you are. That's why you're doing great, and some other people weren't in the afternoon. But anyway, hey, guys.
Oh, JC, that was unnecessary. Now I'm going to let you go. Now I'm going to let you go because that was unnecessary.
It's our friends.
That was unnecessary.
I have, listen, I don't hate Todd Bowles. I don't.
I know you don't.
I don't hate Todd Bowles. I think we're in a good situation here with what's going on. Of course, the defense is banged up this year. They're going to have to make some changes. I don't think on offense they have to make that many. I wouldn't say they're exceptionally disciplined. I don't think they were exceptionally disciplined.
I think for as young as they are, dude, we've seen much more veteran teams right here in Tampa Bay commit a ton of stupid penalties.
It's not just
and for the
penalties.
most part, but when discipline is about penalties and doing your job, which I think for a young football team they did, even if they weren't good enough at some positions.
And to your point, Graham Barton being young, that snafu on 3rd and short, it's not a penalty, but it's a lack of discipline, right? In a way, it's a lack of discipline.
Guys try to draw people off sides all the time on plays like that.
You didn't execute.
Okay,
but execute it there.
But it's not. No, then you know what? No, you know what? Honestly, the officials the officials missed the call.
That's true.
The officials missed the call.
That's true.
So if you want to get if we think the officials missed the call, then Graham Barton did what he was supposed to do.
Is there any change you would make to the offense?
Not really. I mean, you want to execute some things a little bit better. You know what I mean? But who the hell am I? Are you talking about personnel?
Yeah, that offensive line stays the same.
Assuming that Bredesen can be brought back on a team-friendly deal, you got to play ball, dude.
I thought Bredesen was good. I don't think Bredesen was great. Some of those penalties were on Bredesen. A lot of those, I was looking at the lack of discipline on a guy like Bredesen, who I like him. You and I both love Elijah Klein.
Exactly where I was going to go. I think that they view him as an eventual starter, whether that's this year or not. I think he will be. And so I think that, again, you got to play ball if you're Bredesen. Yeah, we want you back probably, but we got only so much money, and this is a good place to be. So how much do you want to be here?
And in the draft, we all know they have to go defense.
Listen, if they went and took every single pick on the defensive side of the football, I'd be all right with it.
If they were to draft anything on offense, what position would you say, okay, it's not the worst pick? I want to target defense. I think you can get a guard. And
I don't think I'd waste a pick on a guard right now, to be honest with you. I think you can bring Bredesen back, and he did a very, very good job. And again, I have a lot of belief in Elijah Klein as an eventual starter. Maybe if I'm drafting a guard, it's going to be because we moved him into that position and we draft one late for depth.
And it depends for me on what happens with Chris Godwin, on whether you see a receiver you like and say, I want to bring that guy in.
Without question. I wouldn't be surprised if there was an early pick at wide receiver. Not first round, but an early pick at wide receiver if Chris Godwin goes. I don't know why. I probably shouldn't. I just kind of expect him back. I just kind of do. All right, let's get back to the phone lines. Greg in Largo, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. I tell you what, Pat, you almost have me convinced of keeping Todd Bowles. I've been listening all morning. I love it. But the reason I'm thinking is, would you say because of the division we're in, that's why Todd Bowles still has his job?
Yes.
Could that be fair?
Yes.
I mean, possibly.
Yes. Absolutely fair.
Okay. Now, with clock management, if we go back to last year's Carolina game, right before halftime, I think there was like 1 minute and 50 seconds left. And the next thing you know, we're giving the ball back after we have it with 1 minute and 50. We only wasted 17 seconds. We're fighting for our life. The game's on the line. We need to win. And I just don't get it, how he is terrible with the challenges, the clock. But, hey, I look at it this way. It's hard to fire a guy that's won these division titles. But I think it's because of the division we're in. I mean, I just can't see it. And the motivation. Now, tell me, guys, that New Orleans game, Pat, Aaron, did they look like they were a playoff team?
No, they were sluggish the last 2 weeks, and I didn't think they came out well enough. And again, yeah, some of that's on Todd Bowles, some of that's on the players. I just think, and I thought that, and Greg, thank you for the phone call. We do have to hit the break. Mike, Tom, Greg, if you guys want to hang until the end of the show, we'll get you on as part of the blender, but we do have J.C. Allen coming up on the other side. But I thought the text earlier on the Bartow Ford DAE text line brought up a great point. If you fire a guy who's won a division 3 years in a row, how attractive is that job to potential coaches? Obviously, it's a good roster, and there's a lot of reasons why it is attractive. But to me, you don't look like a very good organization if you're firing guys who are succeeding. All you can do is win the games that are in front of you. Maybe they don't win them in another division. We don't really know, but sure, you can say that. But they've won the division 3 years in a row. They've gotten better 3 years in a row, and I think Todd Bowles has been a big part of it, to be honest with you.
I wonder if there's ever been a coach that has won 3 division titles and never missed the playoffs with an organization and been fired.
It's a hell of a question. I would doubt it. And it's not. We're not even talking wild card.
We're talking 3 division titles as head coach of the Buccaneers in 3 years.
Yep.
And we're talking about the guy being fired.
Had to start over at quarterback. All the injuries. Again, there's plenty of reasons why you can criticize Todd Bowles. I'm not saying he's a great head coach. He's got a lot to prove. But he's also, in my opinion, done enough to save his job, and I think it's completely unfair to fire him, regardless of why you end up doing it. All right, when we return, time to talk to J.C. Allen. We'll see his thoughts on Todd Bowles and a lot more as we move into the offseason. We'll wrap up our season hits with J.C. Allen from Sports Illustrated next.
Tampa Bay Sports Radio, 95.3 WD. WDAE and AM 620.
Unfortunately wrapping up the Buccaneers season and wrapping it up with our friend J.C. Allen from Sports Illustrated, Bucs game day coverage. Of course, you can follow him on X at J.C. Allen NFL. J.C., good morning. How are you?
We're doing all right. We're doing all right. Tough loss. Season's over. Had to go and locker room cleanout's the worst day of the year. But I think there's some good building blocks for moving forward into the future.
So the big debate here when it comes to the show today that we've been having with a lot of our listeners, with each other, is whether one of those building blocks should remain head coach Todd Bowles. Is it hard? I mean, is it hard to fire a guy after winning a division 3 years in a row, or should they consider moving on for Liam Cohen, as some people believe?
You know, it's one of these questions where a lot of people are upset with Todd Bowles for his management, especially clock management, in-game management. They're upset with him about the defense and the secondary and the gashing of big plays that they've allowed this year. But I think when you look at the totality of his work, he deserves another year. I've been saying this for a little bit now. Todd never really got the fair shakeout. He took over after free agency in end of March, beginning of April that first year. Didn't get to pick his staff. Second year he comes in, picks his staff. But they're handicapped with a Tom Brady dead money hit, and then he gets his staff poultred by the Panthers from him. So now he's got to pick a whole new staff this year on the offensive side of the ball, and now they have to re-sign all their own guys. So going into this offseason, they finally have some money which they can spend and kind of add pieces to Bowles' defense. Injuries hurt this team badly, and that's quite frankly the truth of it. Yeah, you want your next man up mentality guys to step up, but when you're asking special teamers and guys off the street to play big roles, it usually doesn't work out. I think Bowles deserves another year. He's shown improvement each year. He's won the division each year. The question comes down for a lot of people is, do you think you can win a Super Bowl with Todd Bowles? Some people think you can't. I think you can if there's some great pieces there on defense. I think the offense, I think Liam's probably going to stick around. I don't envision him leaving this coaching cycle. You'll bring back Chris Godwin, likely, hopefully, and I think your offense is going to still be right up there, top 5. You just need to focus on the defense and draft and free agency this year. Give Todd some pieces, and I think you're right back in the picture for a Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, you just mentioned Chris Godwin, and what makes you so confident that Chris Godwin will be back?
Part of it's Chris Godwin himself. Part of it's the organization. Part of it is the way this offense operated. Organizationally, they love Chris. Todd talked about it yesterday. Jason loves Chris. The players love Chris. You saw what he did in the offense before he got hurt. He was leading the Triple Crown category race. And then Chris himself, a few years back before when they were going through the whole free agent thing, even his wife said, they don't want to leave Tampa. They're very established here. They have, she said she didn't want to go to cold weather either. They're very established here. They have their charity here. They just had a baby here. They have all, the locker room is so close and tight. And, now all of these guys have kids kind of around the same age. I would think that Chris would probably take a hometown discount to stay rather than to leave. And again, if it's true they don't want to move back to cold weather, or on the West Coast because their family is on the East Coast, really limits their options. So I just think he's going to be back.
Are you a hockey guy, J.C. Allen? Because I feel like hockey and hockey circles are the only time I hear the word pronounced organization.
I am a hockey guy. I won't tell you my team because you guys just thrashed me the other day, but we'll leave it at that.
Oh, I know all about your team. I know exactly what team you're on when it comes to hockey.
Former team.
we won't not, believe it or not, it actually was not. Not my former team. I never really claimed a hockey team, but that's a story for another day. The story for the Buccaneers this offseason, you just talked about it when it comes to the defensive side of the ball and some of the changes that are going to have to be made. I love this guy as a human being. He's been a very good player for the Buccaneers, but you got to be able to rely on guys staying on the football field. Do the Bucs need to consider making a move as they did last season with Carlton Davis? this year with Jamel Dean?
I think so. And again, I love Jamel too. He's a great person. He's hilarious. I'll be spending some time with him on the Bucks cruise this year. But I think put your feelers out there, see what you can get. As through the trade market, he's got a relatively inexpensive contract for what he can provide when healthy. When he's healthy and when he's asked to play press man coverage, he's one of the best in the league. 2 years ago, he was almost a top 10 quarterback, top 14 quarterback in the league, grading out per PFF with the way they were using him. But at this point, injuries, he's always been a non-factor on turnovers, and that's what the Bucs need. And, you can't create a hole just to create a hole, so you have to have a plan in place, whether that's looking at free agent options like Travarius Ward from the 49ers or looking in the draft with some of the available cornerbacks there, Benjamin Morrison, Ravel from East Carolina. There's a couple guys in there that could potentially be plug-and-play starters at 19. But you have to have a plan in place. And if you can get maybe a fourth-round pick for a guy like Jamel Dean and bolster your draft stock and be able to have that flexibility, maybe you look into it. If they cut him, I think they'll open up $8 million in cap space. But that is also a possibility as well. But, yeah, it's just unfortunate. Injuries and lack of big plays have kind of been his career.
What goes down on the Buccaneers cruise? The Bucs cruise.
The Buccaneers cruise is phenomenal. You guys definitely need to check it out next year. They have, sail away party. You get to, mingle with all the Bucs players on there. They have a casino where you'll find a lot of the Bucs players spending their time. They do a water volleyball game against each other. There's so much different activities and things, player panels, trivia contests, all sorts of different things that go on.
And the fans get to hang with the players on the cruise?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's got to be horrible for the players.
You don't have to go on it.
It's true.
They got Wirfs is on this year, Diaby, Kalijah Campbell, Luke Gedeke, Barton.
Joe Tryon-Shoyinka's on there. That could be a deadly if you get some bad fans, some mean fans, that could be rough.
No, dude, you got to.
Joe was awesome. Last year, Joe carved out probably it was me, Joe, Christian, and Yaya. We played flag football with some kids for about an hour, just hanging out.
How'd you shimmy awesome. Into that group?
I've just been promoting them for the last couple of years, so
Yeah, but shimmy into the flag football game. You just name some football players
you build these relationships with these guys in the locker room and stuff like that. And believe it or not, I can be pretty athletic when I want to be, especially when it comes to rushing the passer. That's my forte.
Well, the Bucs could use you to tell JTS what you do.
Suited up yesterday.
Give him some tips. At some point, I feel like if I was them, I would just want to escape everybody. On a cruise ship, you're just stuck.
Yeah,
but it does sound awesome for fans.
They don't have to go. They know exactly what they're getting into.
It's true. Brad Johnson's going to be there.
Sapp was on it last year. Let me leave you at that.
Yeah, Mike Allstott's going to be there. That's awesome.
JC, we got to get out of here, but 3 to 4 word answer, if you will. If Tristan Wirfs were on his knees with his right arm tied behind his back, could you get around him on a pass rush?
Wow, what a question.
You know what? I'm going to put that to the test because he's going to be on the cruise, so we'll see if I can do that. I don't think so, though. We'll see.
All right, listen.
I might have to give him a little spin move. Maybe just try to bull rush him to the ground. I don't know. We'll see.
We demand video on this. At JC Allen NFL is how you find him on X. Find his amazing work at Bucs Game Day and on Sports Illustrated. JC, it's always a pleasure. We will find a way to sneak into the schedule at some point next season. But again, always great having you on this year as always.
Yeah, I'm already diving into draft prep and free agency, so let's get some off-season hits here. I'll keep you guys informed.
Sounds good to me. JC, talk to you soon. That's JC Allen, Sports Illustrated right there.
If somebody like a Yaya Diaby got hurt playing flag football with JC Allen, I would just go, I'd be livid.
Credential revoked.
Forever.
Forever. You're out.
I'd be livid.
You can't go screwing up guys on the cruise. No, they're going to have a great time. I'm sure it's a blast.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
We should get one of our AEs on that. Get us part of the cruise.
Seriously, I want on that. Best. I want on that cruise.
We do the show from the cruise. Get Bucs players on with us.
You want to hear a crazy stat from this past weekend I was just telling you about off the air? If you parlayed the first touchdown scores from Sunday alone, the 3 games, Troy Franklin, Jahan Dotson, and De'Ami Brown.
Yeah, nobody would pick those guys.
If you put $10 on that, Kate, I already told Pat what that would pay you. If you got those 3 right for the first touchdown of the game and you parlayed them together, Casey, what would $10 pay?
I think I saw this. I'm going to say $62,000.
Try almost $1.2 million.
Jeez.
You almost have to say it with your pinky up to your mouth, like Dr. Evil.
Dude, I want to know if anybody had that. No one had that.
All right, wrapping up the show on the other side. Dave, Mike, we said we'd get to you if you hung there, so we will start the blender off with Dave and Mike's phone calls. That's coming up on the other side. But before we get to that, of course, can you believe that 2025 is already here? That's right. And you know what comes with a new year? Hope, optimism, and a time to start fresh and look ahead. At International Diamond Center, they're excited to be part of your special moments in 2025. They've even expanded their selection for the new year. IDC's diamond inventory has never been better. All sizes, all shapes, all real, natural, precious cut diamonds. And you're going to get them at the best direct importer prices. And it doesn't stop there. IDC is showcasing all the new styles and trends in engagement rings and fashion jewelry inspired and created by the world's premier designers. No one has more fashion-forward jewelry than IDC.
Also, on top of that, their Swiss watch collection, it's mind-blowing with a fabulous selection of pristine pre-owned Rolex watches. So you're looking ahead, you're planning for a new year. Remember International Diamond Center, locally owned, internationally connected, with a staff of non-commissioned experts. That's right, non-commissioned, that are going to guide you every step of the way. They are in it for you so you can buy with total confidence. Welcome to the new year. Let IDC help you celebrate what matters most this year in 2025, your love. Check them out in Tampa, Clearwater, Lakeland, and Sarasota. ShopIDC.com.
One more segment to go with you next.
The Blender.
The Pat Aaron Show is brought, you should say the Blender on the Pat Aaron Show is brought to you by Mazda of Clearwater. If you're thinking about a new or pre-owned vehicle, the choice is clear. It is Mazda of Clearwater. And remember, with interest rates on the way down, select models at 0% financing. Let us.
And by the way, when you're saving that money, a little extra money in your pocket, we all like a little money.
Yeah.
We are just minutes away from your opportunity to win. I wanted to get, but it was just, you didn't have the extra cash around.
I'm going to tell you what I'd get, Aaron. I'd get an even bigger television to watch the Super Bowl on.
That's what you would get with your $1,000?
An even bigger television.
Pat, you're not in the running for it, so more opportunity for the goons, the listeners right now for your chance, sponsored by the Glass Doctors, to win $1,000. Stay tuned for that.
I'm a little upset. I can't win. All right, we said we would get to the phone calls before we get out of here. We don't have a ton of time, so let's get to it. Dave in Tampa, good morning.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning. Can
You're
you
right
hear me?
back. Yeah, you just got back. It was real quick.
Yeah. Hey, I just wanted to point out one thing about the Glazers and their patience. They fired Tony Dungy after going to the NFC Championship twice because they couldn't get to the Super Bowl. So I think Bowles has had his chance, and I just don't see him taking us much past 1 or 2 games into the playoffs. That's all I got. First time caller. Enjoy the show.
Dave,
good call, man.
Dave, don't be a stranger. Call again.
Will do.
All right, Dave. Thanks for the phone call. Let's go to Angry Mike in Clearwater. Mike, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Never been on in the Blender, so I appreciate you having me on. Hey, listen, that Tony Dungy situation was completely different to this, and we know there's holes on this team. Yeah, I think you can count on 2 fingers how many coaches have won division titles 3 years in a row. Todd Bowles would be one of those fingers. The Glazers are making plenty of money with these home playoff games every year. They're not firing Todd Bowles. I hate to say it. It gets frustrating sometimes when you're a public service employee screaming at the TV, timeout, 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 and it's not happening. However, a lot of coaches do this more often than what people realize. Todd Bowles ain't going nowhere.
Wow, he's coming around. Well, not really. Why do you have to tell us every time you're a public service employee?
Did you hear his call the other day too?
Yeah, he said I was here on the show, doing the show.
He said that to us the other
yesterday.
day too?
He's I was yelling at my TV as a public service employee, and I'm like, stop selling yourself short.
For some reason, T-Kraz was going really late this year with overtime. I don't know if it's a new schedule or if he just felt like going a long time. But I listened to T-Kraz all the way home when we got done with the Bucs post game the other night because my car's always on 620 because why wouldn't it be? And he was on all the way. He was on for so long.
He's a gamer.
Big time.
You are too.
Hey, what do we got for the Blender today?
Yeah, for the Blender, we'll keep it simple. We got your Tampa Bay Lightning back in action tonight. They are heading to Boston to TD Garden to take on the Bruins yet again. The Lightning are 3-0-1 in their last 4 games before they had that 4-game skid on this streak that they have right now. And then they won 4-1 against the Bruins in Tampa on Thursday. So this will be a rematch of that game. Over-under tonight is 5.5, and the money line is -130 in favor of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Take the over. Take the Lightning. Would you say? Did you say what the point spread is at -1.5?
Don't have the point spread in front
Go
of
at
me,
least money line Lightning and take the over. They're going to score some goals tonight.
When the
against those stupid
Stars
Bruins.
are being the Stars and play like that, the top line is one of the best in all of hockey.
I don't know why, for some reason, I thought you were going into a take on the Dallas Stars.
No, it is a take on this, the depth, if the depth shows up as well, but Lightning score early. They provide that offense, especially at home. They've done a great job providing that offense. A little struggle on the road, but when that top line is humming, it's hard to compete with them.
Well, they'll be on the road in Boston, but hopefully they'll have enough to take care of the stupid Boston Bruins. You hear that, J.C. Allen? We know who you're rooting for, you son. Good to wrap it up with J.C. Allen today. Good to take a lot of your phone calls today. It was a fun show. We'll be back tomorrow on a Wechter Wednesday.
I don't hate Todd Bowles, people. Stop with this
Stop
rumor.
hating the man so much.
I don't hate Tom Izzo. I don't hate Sister Jean. I don't get the whole Sister Jean thing. That's for another day.
We don't really hate anyone, but we love you. Thank you for listening. As always, thanks so much to the men and women who serve our country and allow us to be morons for a living. Sorry, Mom. Not the rest of you.
Speak for yourself. I hate a few people.
Well, I do too.
Pat and I, we would never.